Brandt DXT grain carts have efficient unload speeds, large carrying capacities, unmatched durability, and reliable components that make sure your cart is working when you are. Lead the field with DXT grain carts from Brandt. Visit your local Brandt dealer for more information.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Wednesday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. And, of course, a big shout-out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. Got to admit, for all of you watching on YouTube, I have never co-hosted a show with the mascot before. And this is early for those of you that are watching on YouTube. And, of course, we're going to be talking today about the early season hybrids that BASF and InVigor Hybrid Canola are rolling out. And, of course, BASF Canada and InVigor Hybrid Canola are our show sponsors here today at Ag in Motion, just outside of Saskatoon. The weather is nice, the crowds are plentiful, and we're going to have a great time here today talking about all the things that are going on at BASF. And, of course, BASF has a new InVigor Hybrid. It is L355PC. And they're very excited about it, and we're going to hear all about it here today on the program. Our guests today are Mark Alberts from BASF. We're also going to be talking to Brady Hahn and as well Cory Ralph as well. So we got a great lineup of guests here to talk about all things agriculture. Get a bit of a crop condition update, some of the innovations that are happening at BASF and InVigor, and a whole lot more. Now, I'm sure Early has some questions, probably some comments, probably some really strong opinions. If I know Early as well as I do, you can send an email to shaney@realagriculture.com, or of course you can call the RealAg feedback line 855-776-6147. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we got Mark Alberts standing by right after this.
The new Brandt XT grain cart delivers unmatched forward auger reach, side auger reach, and discharge spout clearance for easy positioning, with sight lines that allow you to actually see what you're doing while you're doing it, saving you time with each load and getting you back to the combine sooner. They say hindsight is 20/20. We say seeing what's in front of you is better. Lead the field with the new XT grain cart from Brandt.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Peak, RealAgriculture.com, and what an opportunity! Oh my gosh! You think you can't grow better wheat? You are absolutely wrong. We're going to show you how to strive for those record wheat yields that they get in the UK and in New Zealand. You can grow 150 bushel wheat. I'll show you how.
Catch Wheat Pete's Word every Wednesday on RealAgriculture.com or download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 Sirius XM. And we are at the Ag in Motion show just outside of Saskatoon. And we're having a great time here with our friends at BASF and InVigor Hybrid Canola. You know, InVigor Hybrid Canola, definitely the market leader when it comes to canola in the Western Canadian landscape. And, crops looking not too bad around here. Like, we'll get an update on that. But at least from the highway, driving about 110 on the way in, it seemed to look that way. Joining us right now is Mark Alberts with BASF. How are we doing, Mark?
We're doing really well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so tell us, what do you do at BASF?
Yeah, so I'm on the InVigor hybrid canola marketing team. That's based out of Calgary, Alberta. So I get to work with a great group of folks out of our Calgary office, along with our sales team in Western Canada, to really help bring the InVigor hybrid lineup to market and as a tool for growers across Western Canada. So it's a great team we get to work with, and really fun business.
Yeah. What? I think it'd be fun to sell InVigor.
It is. Absolutely it is. No, it's a phenomenal brand. And when you look at all the aspects beyond even the commercial, seed production, the team that brings these new hybrids to market in our breeding world, it's beyond impressive. So,
you know what also is impressive? This is the nicest radio set I think we've ever done an on location at.
Well, we'll take it. The team put a ton of work in here at Ag in Motion, and as you saw with Earl E is a big part of this event this week, and no, it looks phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, Early is very popular. The rooster's running around here, and Early is taking a lot of pictures.
He is.
We're actually sitting inside of a photo booth here, and people are coming by and getting their photos taken. And honestly, it's kind of nice to have some fun at a farm show.
We absolutely agree. And yeah, the photo booth has been a popular spot all morning here already with Earl E. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of fun. We know folks have had a long spring, and it's time to relax a little bit. And we can look at new hybrids. We can check out equipment, but having a laugh is okay too.
Yeah, what are you hearing from the reps in terms of the crop conditions?
Yeah, like always, it's going to be variable across Western Canada. But if I'm to try to paint a microcosm of the Western the prairies right now, I'd say things are holding on pretty good overall. The crops that went in a little bit later are doing really well, and some of those rains we've seen over the last few weeks, I think, have really given the crop a bit of life and some optimism amongst growers for sure.
Well, let's be honest. I'm complaining about the cold today.
Sure,
it's a little bit chillier.
It's different for Ag in Motion.
It is, especially compared to last year where we cooked alive. Yes. It was so hot. Yeah. But canola likes this kind of weather.
Absolutely.
And wheat too. So this is if you've got some moisture, and some don't and some do, but if you've got the moisture, this is the kind of temperatures that really make that yield flourish.
Absolutely. And if we can see those flowers hang on in some spots here, it's a really good thing right now. Speaking about the road trip out, we'll bring in a couple of the other guys that can give you some really down to the boots stuff going on right now. I drove out from Brooks, Alberta, cross country through Kindersley, Rosetown, and just from that little snapshot from my own eyes on the road, it looked pretty good, and I think things are coming along pretty well.
Yeah, same observation that I had. Because this is one of those years that's kind of funny, because leading into planting and seeding, a lot of talk about cost cutting, right? Because
Sure.
markets there's still some challenges. Don't get me wrong, but when we have a crop out in the field, then we've got to really think about disease as it comes with moisture. So there's a lot of discussion here as I'm listening to some of the growers talk here in the booth. They're talking about diseases. Hey, you spraying or you not spraying? Yeah. What are you doing? We hear about it in our Farmer Rapid Fire all the time. A lot of decisions around disease right now.
Absolutely. We're kind of in the tail end of the foliar fungicide season in the canola crop. I think there's been quite a bit that's gone out with that moisture we saw in late June and early July. So folks are protecting that crop. Prices have been, doing pretty good that I've at least seen recently. So I think there's some optimism there, and folks are, really in that mindset of protecting that crop and getting the best yield and quality.
And of course, we can control or try to suppress disease in crop, but really that disease management starts at seed selection time.
Absolutely, yeah. No, having that right genetics and having the right disease package in your hybrids is critical. In terms of the InVigor hybrid breeding program, it's kind of an absolute priority in terms of balancing, of course, yield and other things like harvest management with our patented pod shatter reduction technology, but having that disease package is a key part of the breeding process and the lineup.
So when we're talking about breeding for disease, blackleg, clubroot, verticillium, right? What else is on that list, or is that kind of the big three?
Those are going to be the big three from a from a seed trait standpoint that we're going to be looking to do. So our breeding program, if we go to Clubroot, for example, they're always screening the new experimentals and the hybrids for the latest pathotypes that are going to be emerging in the market. That's a disease in central and northern Alberta that continues to evolve, and so has the hybrid lineup and the disease package. We can talk a little bit more about that if you want, but we can have first and second generation clubroot resistant hybrids, just based on the pathotypes that might be in your area, a better fit. But basically every hybrid is going to have a clubroot resistant pathotypes within, or clubroot resistance within the lineup. On the verticillium stripe you mentioned is an emerging disease that's giving canola growers a bit more of a headache.
Not just a Manitoba thing though either.
It's not just a Manitoba thing. You hear about it on the eastern side of the prairies more, but I've heard reports of it in Alberta, even when it's not visibly noticeable. Coming back in some screenings, it's there. Confused with blackleg? Yeah, absolutely. They do kind of roll hand in hand together, it seems a little bit, but they are certainly a different thing. Verticillium stripe, there's not really an answer in the marketplace right now in terms of like a full silver bullet management practice. You can't spray for it. Yeah. It's a monocyclic disease that can spread, basically through air, water, soil. Now, we've come out with a few things where we're starting to rate our hybrids a little bit different, and bring a little more clarity to where in the lineup you're going to have relative advantages. So, for example, you mentioned the new hybrid InVigor L355 PC. It would have one of our strongest verticillium stripe ratings. So it's not full resistance. It's not going to be a silver bullet, but if you're sitting in the eastern side of the prairies and you know that that's going to be a disease that's going to be on your mind over the course of the season, you can lean on a few of the tools we have to make the right hybrid selection. Yeah, and people are probably like, blackleg? What do you mean blackleg? Like, is that really still a thing? Yeah, it is still a thing. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it still is a thing. We have the major and minor resistance bred throughout the InVigor lineup for blackleg, so you don't need to spray necessarily for it, but it is something that continues to be a big challenge for growers in some regions of Western Canada. And, so with, say, like the verticillium on the new hybrid, it's a high tolerance for it because it's not resistance. You can still have it, right? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And again, it's a relative ranking. So we have our breeding team that's been taking visual observations over many years and kind of rating relative to each other. So again, not going to be a silver bullet, but you can lean on a hybrid like that to give you a little bit better protection in those areas. Yeah, like if you're in an area where the infection load is really high, you may succumb to it, but it's a form of protection. Absolutely. No, exactly. It's going to be a management practice like a lot of other things. So, not a silver bullet. Yeah, like I have a high tolerance for beer, but at some point, if the load is high enough, it may knock me down. That's a pretty practical analogy. I like that one. And we're at a farm show, so it holds. Yes, that's right. It absolutely holds. So, from an so you mentioned the ratings and providing clarity. Was there not clarity before, or like why the change? Or this is because the disease has developed and we know more about it and about the hybrids that are carrying these traits, or like why the difference? I'd still say it is still continuing to emerge as a challenge, and it's something that the breeding team, development teams are just looking at more closely. Okay. So if we rewind the clock a year ago, yes, we would have some relative ratings across our lineup, but we've just kind of come to a position now of making those more publicly aware. In some of our agronomic tools, you can understand that where the hybrids are ranked now. So it's just been kind of an emerging, developing thing, and it's kind of hot off the presses, for lack of a better way to put it. Yeah. Very cool. And what about, you mentioned the pod shatter, which, BASF or InVigor led that development, and now other companies have, brought other, I guess, competitive products to the marketplace, but InVigor really was the leader in that space. And still continues to be? Like, is that trait changing over time, or new versions coming out? Yeah, no, that's the patented pod shatter reduction technology has been a staple in the InVigor lineup for now. This is the 11th year. Yeah. Actually, last year's name was the 10th anniversary of pod shatter technology. That's right, which is hard to believe. And it's in every single. That's bred into every single one of our hybrids now as a base thing that we bring into the lineup. Yes, it continues to be a really, really important thing to farmers. I think you run into some really easier open falls, and maybe it doesn't pronounce itself as much, but I know certainly from some direct anecdotes last year, some very high winds in October, those pods need to hang on, and there is a difference. The patented pod shatter reduction technology is different than the other competitive hybrids we'll see. Another aspect of the InVigor lineup is reduced pod drop. which is different than pod shatter. So that's actually keeping that pod on the plant, and we do have some aspects of the genetics and within the InVigor lineup that do help with that as well.
Pod drop bad.
Pod drop bad and pod shatter also bad. So it's a table stakes thing. And another thing it allows farmers to do is delay swath. So it's not like you have to just go out and straight cut. These attributes of the hybrids allow you to have a more flexibility and make some different decisions when game time's on.
But one of the things that happens when we get really big heat during the flowering time is we get pod abortion. Sure. Are we obviously we're probably selecting hybrids that are a little bit more heat tolerant for some of the zones, or how do we manage that?
Yeah, no, and that's always a tough thing to mitigate overall. I think the biggest thing is having a breeding program and development where you're looking at different maturity zones, different attributes, and really balancing out your lineup in that regard. So, we've been talking about new InVigor L355 PC, which is going to be suitable for mid to longer growing zones. But we also have earlier maturing hybrids as well. InVigor L330 PC, InVigor L333 PC, which were just actually introduced for this season. So I think it's about having a balance in the lineup across different development zones, where you can, for example, plant a hybrid that's going to mature earlier for heat tolerance, or if you want to just, again, manage multiple hybrids on your farm and balance your harvest even. Do
farmers still walk into the booth in a show like this and say, how can I get some 5440?
I haven't heard it yet today, but
it'll happen. It will happen.
We could take some bets. I can guarantee it'll happen. And those old classic favorites, they don't go away. You get hybrids that come and go throughout the lineup that people have a lot of affinity to. But I think the beautiful part about the InVigor lineup is that the introduction of good quality new hybrids that can replace these old classics with even better traits. Full club root, full pod shatter reduction technology, higher yield potential. They're going to keep coming. So we got to let go of those old favorites and always try something new. I guess is the message.
It's just like if you're a Kiss fan. Eventually, you got to move on to something new. Like, you just can't hang on to it forever. I had talked at one point about doing for each of the crop types like a Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yes.
And this won't surprise you, but one of your colleagues, Blaine, had said, well, easy. All 5 would be InVigor hybrids. I was like, well, I'm sure there's something else that would squeeze in there, but you can just imagine him on that.
Yeah. Absolutely could. No. It's a phenomenal lineup, and like I said, it's next year will be our 30th anniversary at Ag in Motion of the InVigor hybrid lineup, 1997.
30 years of InVigor.
30 years will be next year, so I guess we're already jumping ahead a year. We're not even through 26, but
wow.
Yeah, you look back over time and just some of the hybrids and just the again, like I think a lot about the breeding development team, production team, people who put this stuff in bags. It's really phenomenal.
A lot of times farmers are like, well, hey, people need to think about, how, what a farmer does and where food comes from. I think when a farmer opens up the bag, a seed bag, whether that's canola or corn or whatever, they need to think a bit more, hey, the work that went into putting that seed in the bag, because it's a phenomenal story through its life cycle.
100% agree. Again, speaking to our production team down in Lethbridge, Alberta, where all this magic happens and gets all the InVigor in our bags and out to market. Yeah. It's something I think anyone should take an opportunity to tour or visit or spend some time if they ever get a chance.
Absolutely.
It's quite a phenomenal behind the scenes.
Well, we're going to take a break. Mark's going to stay with us. We're going to talk about this new early hybrid that InVigor is releasing here. InVigor L355 PC.
You got it.
Look at me. Just rolls off the tongue. We'll be right back here broadcasting from Ag in Motion, and it is brought to you today by BASF Canada as well as InVigor Hybrid Canola. Back right after this.
At Proven Seed, we know that farming in Western Canada doesn't just teach us, it shapes us. Here we face challenges with resilience, innovation, and grit born from decades of experience. We battle the conditions again and again because growing crops here isn't just what we do, it's who we are. We're raised to adapt just like you, with varieties grown specifically for your local conditions. Visit provenseed.ca/raised to adapt to hear our story.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin, host of the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com. Throughout the year, on the Soybean School, we'll bring you timely agronomic video content from planting to harvest, from the latest agronomic research to the latest in production technology. Check out our massive video library on YouTube, RealAgriculture.com, or download the audio podcast versions wherever you get your podcasts. The Soybean School is brought to you by Mazik Seeds and Lalamon Plant Care.
The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is a video series that showcases the latest in canola research and production agronomy. Learn from some of the best at your own pace through quick and timely producer-focused videos available on our YouTube channel. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is the quickest way to keep up to date on all the latest in canola production. Boost your canola IQ with the Canola School, brought to you by BASF, and visit canolaschool.com.
Well, the show gets crazier and crazier. We are back here at Ag in Motion, brought to you by BASF Canada and InVigor Hybrid Canola. I'm still joined by Mark Alberts. Can you hear me, Mark?
I can. I can't see anymore, Sean, but I can hear you.
So in between us is Earl E., the representative here of InVigor L355 PC, correct?
Actually, Earl E. is the representative of our Earlies hybrids, which isn't InVigor L355 PC, but that's all good. Both are a big part of the show and focus here this week.
Okay. So Earl, a little bit, some throat issues, can't really talk, but what can you tell us about this new hybrid?
So first and foremost, the new hybrid, InVigor L355 PC, it's built for the mid to longer maturing growing zones, and it's going to have one of the strongest disease packages we've seen in the InVigor canola lineup so far, without sacrificing high yield potential and having all those things folks can rely on, like patented pod shatter reduction technology, Sean. So we were talking a little bit further in the last segment about verticillium stripe and some of the other challenging diseases in Western Canada. InVigor L355 PC would have one of our top rankings in terms of verticillium stripe performance. Again, blackleg resistance, very strong standability and lodging resistance, and really going to be a winning hybrid in terms of the mid to long maturity zones for 2026. So it's out in our plots here. It's across Western Canada in our demonstration strip trials if farmers, retails, agronomists are able to get out on a tour over the next few weeks, and we're really excited for 2026. Nice.
Well, I was trying to think of a serious question to ask you, but
sure.
I just, with Early here, it's just pretty awesome. You're going to have to keep your eye on Earl, I think, later on.
Yeah.
Could get a bit wild in the beer tent.
I could see. Well, we haven't decided if Earl has permission to get to the beer tent, how far into the depths of Ag in Motion he's going to make it. But, Earl also has a mind of his own, so we'll keep tabs on him.
Well, a rooster's got to go to. It can't be up too late though, because it's up so early in the morning.
Well, exactly, and that's maybe where I can bring it back to what Earl E really represents. So, we talked a little bit in the last segment. InVigor L330 PC, InVigor L330 PC, 333 PC, kind of on the opposite side of our new hybrid InVigor L355 PC, built for the earlier maturing growing zones. So. Earl's here to help represent those hybrids. What does a InVigor hybrid and a rooster have in common? Well, we're saying performance. You can rely on it, confidence, and of course standability. So Earl is here to represent those new early maturing hybrids. So they're a big part of the lineup. They were just launched this last year, so appreciate the farmers in Western Canada who have tried these couple new hybrids, and they're looking really good in the field. So Earl E is here to represent the early maturing InVigor hybrid lineup, and he's pumped to do it.
Yeah, pretty quiet for a rooster. That's one thing I'll say.
Yeah,
cock-a-doodle-doo?
Cock-a-doodle-doo. Maybe it'll happen later. We'll see.
I can see the tagline, cock-a-doodle-doo, InVigor hybrids for you.
I love it. There we go.
You like that?
Let's write it down.
Is that good? So, if you look across the Western Canadian landscape, how many hybrids are in the portfolio right now to fit? Like, it's like a puzzle, right? You're trying to, and there is some overlap. But how many hybrids are in the portfolio?
Yeah, so there's 12 InVigor hybrid. 12 hybrids in the lineup right now. And that includes everything from early maturing hybrids to mid to later powerhouses like InVigor L355 PC we'll see in 2026. And then we also have other things. We have InVigor Health. So if growers are looking for a specialty health contract, InVigor L350H HPC is a really strong hybrid. Or if you're looking for dual herbicide trait and a little bit of flexibility in terms of what you're going to spray, InVigor LR354 PC is another hybrid that's going to be an option there. So, it's a fine line. We don't want to have probably 100 hybrids in the lineup, but having the right amount that can suit those different soil zones or growing zones, disease challenges in Western Canada is really important.
Right. So if you're around that Edmonton area and you're thinking club route, there's something there, but that may not be the hybrid for Winnipeg.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, so I think that really comes down to the local agronomics and understanding what the challenges are. And the hybrids really are built to be more suitable for that. So there's not just one that you can say is the best across Western Canada. We really have a lineup that's going to be suitable for all the different areas.
Yeah. So I just want to. We were talking about the bag earlier, and I'm catching. If you don't know, but I'm just curious, like the testing programs required to get to like where we have 10 or 12 hybrids in the marketplace. Sure. How many potentials were there? Like how many prospects were there to get to those that are in the market now? Do you know the number off? Because I've heard ratios before. It is huge.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. That's a great question, but I can tell you from an experimental standpoint, there's handfuls of them that are going to be out in the field every year that are going to be screened by our breeding team and then advanced to another level. And then from there, our agronomic excellence team and some of our other agronomy teams put those, to the further field test. And by the time we see an experimental come to life, like InVigor L355 PC, years and years and years of development, testing, review, and a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah, well, there's going to be scrutiny for this rooster if it doesn't behave.
Earl, come on.
Be careful. Awesome stuff, Mark. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
This is fun. We appreciate you coming to the BASF InVigor booth and joining us here at Ag in Motion, and we're having a lot of fun. We're still just getting going. Got 2.5 more days, but the weather's a nice temperature. So
a little bit different than last year. A little bit different than last year. Absolutely. That's Mark Alberts and Early with me here at the InVigor tent here at Ag in Motion. We'll be right back on RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, right after this.
Soil health is under pressure, but real solutions start below the surface. Black Earth offers a full suite of humic solutions, from high-purity granules to powder, liquid, and soluble formulations, all powered by pure Humulite. Formulated for performance, backed by consistency, trusted by growers worldwide from one of the world's rarest reserves. Grow stronger with the power of Black Earth Humulite. Learn more from Mine to Market at blackearth.com.
It's summertime, and you've got a lot of important decisions to make when it comes to your corn crop. Let the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com help guide you through those big decisions with input from leading experts in the field. If it's spray timing, disease identification, or any other field issue, the Corn School's got you covered. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
Oh, the commercial breaks. We've lost the mascot. It's probably a good thing. We are here at Ag in Motion on location with BASF and InVigor Hybrid Canola, and we're having a really fun time. This is always one of the tents that really knows how to have a good time, and farmers definitely flock to. Great location, right beside the parking lot as well. So awesome. It's great stuff. We're joined right now by Glen Forster. How are we doing, Glen?
Doing great. So
now, Glen, I don't know if you remember, and prior, where you were prior, before you came to BASF. No, maybe it was when you were at BASF.
I've always been with BASF.
You were with BASF.
I'm 22 years, so yeah.
I can remember you and I doing an interview at Crop Production Show.
Okay.
Maybe talking about fungicides.
Yeah.
Like we're talking going back, like 2010, 11-ish.
Oh yeah, for sure. Probably the launch of like Priax or Diax or something like that.
Like just something weird like that.
Yeah.
So how are things going?
Doing good. Yeah, it's been. We actually did the InVigor baseball game 2 weeks.
That's right. We did that too
2 years ago. So yeah, it was great.
Those were fun. Those InVigor baseball games.
Yeah, they are great family event. It was great, to bring out the farmers with their families and see them and get to know them. So it's great.
We've done we do a lot of on locations like this. We come up with some creative ones with BASF. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. So yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing now?
Regional sales manager for Northeast Saskatchewan. So kind of cover from Bigger, Davidson, all the way to the Parkland of Manitoba.
Yep.
So,
and how are the crops?
Variable. It really comes down to it's a great indication. Like if you got the moisture at the right time, it's amazing what canola can do with like 4 inches of rain during the season. Like it's
Right.
some really nice 4-inch rain crops, but there's few areas where just a little bit less than average, and you're getting a little bit below average canola crops. But where there's some good moisture, man, there's some really good looking crops out there.
Some weather lottery.
Oh yeah, definitely. It always is. Nice thing about canola is that as long as you get some rain, it keeps growing, keeps flowering. There's that potential still there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because it feels like, and this is my perception, talking to a lot of farmers and some of the reps like yourself, where it feels like if you compare to where we were 3 weeks ago, our outlook here has improved a little bit on the yield.
Very much so. That if maybe even a month ago, so like that first rain in June, that was where everybody was talking, okay, well, we're in crop insurance situation, that sort of thing. We started hitting those rains in June, and was it June 8th, June 9th? That's when it started. And then every few days, there's like a different rain cloud that goes through, that sort of thing. So that's where the variability is. We haven't had that good 1 day long rain, but we've had a lot of rain showers go through in different areas, and every half inch counts. So,
in here in Saskatoon, well, listen, to tell you how smoky it was last weekend in Saskatchewan, the Ryder game was postponed. That's a massive signal that it's smoky when they're not. And I knew people were at the game. They're like, they're going to run out of beer.
Yeah. Amazingly, they still could sell beer to the people in the stands, right?
Well, the funny part is that a buddy had texted me, and he's like, so the players can't play, but the cheerleaders could be on the field.
Yeah.
Like, okay, something's amiss
No,
here.
something's not right there. That being said, I don't know if it was pretty darn smoky, and even today it's not necessarily the best of conditions. So that has helped. That has helped, definitely. Like it has kept those 30-degree days to be 23-degree days.
Yep.
So, and the advancement of the crop has gone from, instead of, moving from flowering to podding, that sort of thing, it's kind of stayed in that flowering stage.
Yeah.
So every time that a rain comes through, it's still flowering, it flowers some more, and all that is yield potential.
And we know, well, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is we know that the longer we're in flower, that correlates to yield.
100%.
Okay.
So, if the worst thing that can happen is a 10 to 14-day flowering period for canola. If you think of every single year that you have the highest yield potential, it's like it started flowering July 1st and it's still flowering July 31st, and it reaches that high yield potential. Especially if you take a look at the InVigor canola, always a lot of branching, and the more that it branches and has more side branches and more flowering, the more yield potential it can have.
Yeah, and I think what's also changed probably is a lot of producers thinking about their fungicide application.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-May, late May, they're like, I don't know, Glenn.
Yeah.
But now probably you're getting a little bit more, hey, Glenn.
Definitely. I think comes down to it is when you think about fungicide application, you want to protect a good crop. So mid-May, growers were thinking, okay, well, it's going to be an average, maybe 30, 35 potential. Now, I always say if you have flowering during the time of, if you have good flowering period, and if you have a 35-plus potential crop, that's what you're going to have the benefit of spraying a fungicide on your canola. So that's kind of my rule. My rule that I take a look at it is, 20 to 50% flower. If you're out there and it's, your pants are getting wet at 11 o'clock.
The old pants wet test.
Yeah. And
very scientific.
And the potential's there. So the other thing, too, is those early June rains, that's when mushrooms would come out. So there's the disease. The disease potential is there. So
the spores are there.
And nobody wants to not protect a good crop. Like that's the biggest thing is the yield at the end of the year is what matters. And everybody, that's the nice thing about farmers is every farmer wants to protect that good crop.
Yeah, and if you isolate the poor acres, just take them out of the pool for a second, and you've got I got a decent crop or better than I thought. We learned last year, so this is what I've heard from a lot of growers. We learned last year, the growers that didn't spray, they regretted it.
Yep.
Is it like that? full stop?
For sure.
Yeah?
For sure.
Okay.
I think, last year was the type of year that there was 8-10 bushel yield drop for people that didn't spray. And again, last year it was dry, or it felt like it was dry, that sort of thing. The potential wasn't there.
Yeah.
But overall, the disease is there, the yield was there, and the humidity was there. Like it is still humid even right now. Like it's smoky, but there's also a humidity out there. Any good crop has that sort of humidity underneath the canopy that is just ripe for disease.
Well, and last year was different in the sense we started great early.
Yeah.
And we just worked our way to, we just eroded yield as we went through the season. This year's been a little bit different, where varied start, then we kind of went into the doldrums a little bit, and we were really concerned, and now we're back to Now there are still some areas where it's not great. So it just and we're not saying we're breaking yields here, but we're in a better spot we were a month ago.
Oh, definitely a better spot than we were a month ago. And we still say, those crops that don't have the yield potential, maybe we don't spray those. And that, that's where it's the best to talk
checks.
about it. And
do some test strips.
Yeah, exactly. But if the yield potential's there, like you said, last year was a bad sclerotinia year. There's lots of opportunities. There's the inoculums there, and now we've got the weather. Well, the best thing you can do is protect that crop.
Is sclerotinia really the disease of consequence we're worried about?
When you're spraying at the flowering timing, the disease of consequences is sclerotinia for sure. There's certain areas where somebody might talk about blackleg, verticillium, those types of things.
Yep.
You want to use the best hybrids that are associated with it. So InVigor canola, if we take a look at it, our new L355 is something for the Manitoba verticillium area for growers to look at. From blackleg, we have that blackleg and clubroot management within our InVigor canolas. So those ones, you look at the hybrid for that, and then the timing. So if blackleg is an issue for you, it's not at flowering; it's done at that 2 to 3 leaf stage.
Yeah. So. Okay. What else do you hear from growers right now?
I think it's just opportunity is there. Like the variability, you get a lot of questions on where. Should I spray? Should I not? Those are the types of things, because I think it comes down to is the variability is there. I get one other thing that I would say is that because we had such dry conditions early, growers sprayed for weeds and things like that, and then these late rains have caused some late weeds to emerge, whether it's your cereal crops, your canola crops, your pulse crops. So getting a lot of questions on heat. I know we're talking InVigor canola, but getting a lot of questions on heat and, as to utilize it, because we're probably in a position where we're going to have to clean up some crops. So, the thing is, glyphosate applications depends on what crop, and you have to watch your buyers and things like that. Yeah. So there's that opportunity of, hey, how am I going to clean up this crop that I didn't get as good a weed control during the year that I normally do, because it just simply because of the nature of the environment. So when they went to go spray their wheat, the weeds weren't up. We got rain, all of a sudden you got some late flushes of volunteer canola, things like that you have to deal with. So so those are... So
ideal timing for that?
Ideal timing is like at the same time as you're doing your glyphosate on your wheat, on your canola, 60 to 90% pod color change. Realistically, it's talk to your agronomist, talk to your retail, talk to your BASF rep, for sure walk out and be able to help time those proper applications.
Yeah, spray too late, bad. Yeah. Spray too early, you really hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be, this is a 25 has turned out to be a very fascinating year.
It has seemed like it's been one season just moved straight into another season like that.
So I've heard that from a lot of growers. They're like, man, I can't get off the sprayer. Like the seasons kind of converged on each other. There hasn't been a lot of break.
No, I remember July long weekend on the phone a lot on July long weekend. 9 times out of 10 you're talking fungicides. Every other year we were talking herbicides still. So it was kind of but then 3 days later, all of a sudden fungicides are coming out. So it makes for a very long but compressed season, and I think that's also why we're here, right? Like that's why we have people out in the field to be able to answer those questions.
And I'm betting still, and I've had a few meteorologists say this, so I'm kind of banking that this is still holding true. I think we're going to have an open fall.
Yeah.
It to me, it doesn't feel like we've had a lot of warm weather yet. Consistently, we've had warm periods, but not like Tuesday morning felt like kind of fall. Around here, right?
Even this morning, it's like I'm still wearing a sweater from this morning.
So
and that's odd at Ag in Motion. Usually, it's
last year cooked,
so
baked.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories from the road of our friend Early here, the rooster?
No, other than the roosters, not necessarily, but I'd say it's like the crops out there are looking at every hybrid that's out there, that sort of thing. It's like it's different for every region. So one of the things that I get questioned a lot here, I love Ag in Motion because you talk to people from the Peace to southern Manitoba and the nice thing is you have different conversations every single one because every area needs a different hybrid. Like I said, 355 for southern Manitoba, having club route conversations from people from Alberta, always a great event that way. I learn a lot myself.
Probably some North Dakota farmers kicking around here too.
Potentially,
I bet as well. Well, Glenn, been great to chat with you. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. That's Glen Forster from BASF. Okay, when we come back, we've got one more segment to go here, broadcasting from Ag in Motion. Brought to you by BASF and InVigor Hybrid Canola. Back right after this. Built on over 100 years of seed innovation and unwavering commitment to farmers, Pioneer 100 Series canola hybrids deliver a step change in yield performance and agronomic traits. This isn't just better canola. It's different canola. Pioneer 100 Series. Contact your local Pioneer sales representative or visit pioneer.com/100 series to learn more today.
How's your seed quality? What should you treat with? What about herbicide carryover and environmental concerns? Spring is here, and you've got a lot of things to think about in regards to your pulse crop. The Pulse School on Real Agriculture has information and advice for all these questions and more to help you navigate this season. Brought to you by BASF. Pulse School episodes are available at pulseschool.com, realagriculture.com, or as a podcast on your favorite streaming service. Download the latest episode today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, broadcasting here from Ag in Motion, just outside Saskatoon, in the BASF and InVigor Hybrid Canola booth. And we've had a good time here today, I might say. We not too often get to do a bit of a broadcast with a rooster sitting beside you, so that was a lot of fun. We're joined right now by Cory Ralph with BASF. How are we doing today, Cory?
Good, Shaun. Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Yeah, I'm with BASF out of Northeast Saskatchewan. I'm a sales rep for BASF. This is
cool.
My first year doing the sales role, coming over from the tech service team. So good to dip my toes into the sales side of things. So yeah, happy to be on. Thanks for having me on.
On the disc profile, that's moving from like the S and C's up to the I's. You're in sales now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been a fun change. So
yeah. So I'm curious. Just looking to do something different, like new experience?
Yeah, exactly. So been on the tech side for 10 years and decided to change it up and see on the sales side, get closer to the growers, get some customer base experience, and I've been really enjoying it. So
if you and it's like one of those things where it fills out your experience. Where if you ever decide to go back to more of the technical side, you're a little bit more rounded because you've heard from customers.
Yeah, exactly. That's a goal.
Yeah, awesome stuff, man. Good for you. Okay. So where are you based out of?
So based out of Melfort, Saskatchewan.
Okay. How are crops looking?
They're looking pretty good for the most part. It was low on moisture for a lot of my territory kind of early on. So especially on the canola side, pretty stagey.
Yep.
There was emergence where the snowbanks were and canola had come up pretty nice. And then, a lot of it didn't emerge till that first rainfall, sometimes, a month later. So as you're kind of driving in the area, you're seeing some canola right now in flower and then, some still at 6 leaf just starting to bolt. So a bit variable up there right now. So
yeah, and that staginess can present some harvest challenges if it's too bad. Yeah. But canola is kind of amazing how it just it can even itself out. Like it's just
Yeah, and one of the things I like to talk about with my growers, and a few have brought up to myself even, is if with that pod shatter trait in there, it's letting those plants that are, a little bit farther behind, you have that, lower risk of letting those catch up and, catch up to those ones that are at a little later stage already.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and, I've had a few growers come up and say, I'm really happy I went with the pod shatter trait this year for my canola, and just for that in general. If I'm straight cutting it, I'm able to let it catch up to my other canola and go in there and get that yield benefit of letting some of that stagey canola catch up. So
prior to pod shatter trait, we were forced into a situation where if you had that staginess, you were kind of forced into I can't afford to wait because I'm going to lose maybe the early higher yieldings because it was because it had emerged earlier, and it was kind of like a real I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. Now, like you said, you can let it stand, it'll hold those pods together, and you let the later stuff catch up, which that's a big advantage that we did not have prior to that trait.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of with that same challenge that we've been faced with the staginess is kind of weed control within there. We have the canola that's further ahead, out competing the weeds, and then the canola that's kind of a little bit farther behind, we're having kind of weed escapes that are coming in. Another kind of challenge that we've been facing, and I've had a few growers, ask, what would I do in that situation? And what I've kind of been telling my growers is, if you're past that Liberty staging, you can't go in anymore. Heat LQ at the end of the season is a good option from a pre-harvest perspective to kind of get rid of those weed problems as well as help bring in that crop to catch up to the stuff that's a little further ahead. So.
Is there a lot of growers doing desiccation on canola in your area?
This year, I think it's going to be a lot of growers. It's kind of dependent on the season. I think with the staginess and a lot of just one-app applications of Liberty, I think there's going to be more weeds than are normal. So I think it's going to be a big year for pre-harvest and for desiccations for my growers in my territory. Yeah.
So kind of a lot of regions better than we were a month ago. That's kind of the way to sort of look at it. Is that kind of the description?
Yeah, on the canola side especially, the staginess was one thing. It was lacking some moisture, but I think one positive that come out of it compared to last season in my territory was, the root system was actually going down instead of sideways. And, last year the canola crop looked excellent in my territory and kind of ran out of gas at the end of the season. Exactly. And I'm hoping for kind of the opposite where...
Sort of like the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
They're looking really good early and through the season, and then they get to the end and it just sort of...
the first or second round comes in. Yeah, exactly. Where I think this year that root system's down further. Growers have been pulling plants, and you're getting actually a root system that, even if it is a little bit drier now, hopefully it's able to pull some of that moisture that we got earlier on. So
I don't think we think about the root structure enough. The going down versus going out, and the differences of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, like last year we had, such good moisture early season, kind of perfect. And when you'd pull some of those, 6-leaf canola plants, you were only getting root structures going down and almost sideways because it didn't really have to search for moisture. Where this year there was nothing early on, and so it had to start going down to try to find that moisture. And then, that root structure is developed for when that rain does come, and I think it gives it a bit more of an advantage once the taps potentially do shut off. So
early in the season, you don't want you want I don't know, you want stress to sort of like drive those roots lower, but you don't want too much where you've hurt yourself. There's like a happy medium, and as farmers were never happy. So
it's a tough balance to keep for sure. Yeah,
but there is a difference between those two. What are some of the other things that your growers in your territory are talking about agronomically here right now as we get to the midpoint of July?
So I think right now, kind of in the midst or at the back end of sclerotinia applications. So the fields that warranted an application that did get some moisture. I think our inoculum load from last season was quite high. A lot of growers in my territory, had severe losses from sclerotinia and maybe bigger than they've seen in previous years. And I think growers understood that, that inoculum load's still going to be there. And I think a lot of my growers, understood the risks that were there. And so a few would still be kind of in spraying that. Going back to the staginess, that kind of creates another problem in there for, staging your fungicide timing, or if it's worth it when it's that stagey. But, I think growers are kind of just wrapping that up. Some that caught a little bit more moisture at a little higher risk, my app intensity would definitely be up compared to previous years. So
this is kind of that time where people are hoping to have some of this stuff wrapped up. They can maybe spend a little bit of time, maybe at the farm show or go to the lake, get a little bit of camping in, because then harvest is here, and then it's just kind of full out.
Exactly. Yeah. Once fungicide season's over, and to get that completed, I think guys are looking to go on some holidays. And then, like I said, with kind of some of the weed escapes we have, I think we'll be in the pre-harvest here before we know it.
Management's not over.
It never seems to be. And hopefully, a guy gets a few weeks off here before harvest is starting in the pulses. I think on the other crop side of things are looking pretty good. The peas are looking very good in a lot of my area.
I thought the peas looked good out here.
Yeah,
as I was driving
on the drive in, I thought the same. They're looking excellent. And I think on the cereal side, they were seeded earlier, had a little bit of lack of moisture in a lot of my areas, and kind of started flag leaf at foot 16 inches tall. So I think guys were a little concerned on them, and I think with some of this moisture, they're starting to tiller out, and I think the hopes are starting to increase. But I think canola is where guys are really excited to see where the yields end up yet. So
I hope the market would cooperate a little bit, but that's a whole nother ball game. And we were talking earlier with Mark about some of the disease pressures that canola faces. We get to the checking for blackleg. Isn't important. And you're from the technical side, so you're
100%. It gets to the point at harvest time, it's kind of the best time to check some of those late season diseases. With verticillium stripe coming in, and a lot of growers, I think, just on the education side of that right now, and in my territory, not a whole bunch of it showing its face, luckily yet, but it's starting to. And then on the blackleg side of things, getting out there, and even the clubroot side, getting out there, pulling plants, cutting stems, seeing what you're seeing within that stem to try to diagnose is, swath timing if you're swathing, or that late season is kind of the best time to diagnose a lot of the diseases that growers are going to be facing. So,
you going to hang out with Early the rooster later? Or?
If Early will let me, I'd be happy to hang out with Mr. Rooster there for a while. So
troublemaker. I can tell.
Yeah,
I can tell. It's very popular there in the photo booth here.
Yeah, and I guess on that note too, that's reminding me on a little bit of the feedback that I've got on a couple of our early hybrids that we launched this season. So in the InVigor L 330 PC and InVigor L 333 PC being kind of the first year of launch. Had some really good feedback from my growers that have put it in. It's on the early side, so they're excited for that. Being in the northern geography, growers are really looking for that. Yep. And obviously, got to wait till the combine rolls in to get a full assessment of it. But from a visual perspective, looking really good in my territory. So excited for those two hybrids going forward. So.
Happy grower, happy rep.
Exactly.
Hey,
I'm learning that. I'm learning that.
You learned that very, very fast. But you're enjoying sales?
I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I'm going back to tech here in November, so excited to get back to that team as well.
They just gave you a 1 year whirl at it?
one year and 1 year, and then back to the tech side. But no, it's been a
So what were you doing in tech?
Experience.
What were you doing there?
So we run kind of grower scale trials. So our DSTs are demonstration strip trials. So get to see our hybrids up close and personal, and work with some wonderful growers kind of from Saskatoon up to Nipawin area. And then doing our APTs, so our kind of fungicides and herbicide trials, and then our RAs, our research authorization. So bringing out, Revi Pro a couple of years ago. There's a couple exciting ones in the pipeline that I can't bring up just yet, but so excited to get back to.
You can tell me.
Yeah.
How many DST sites are there?
So I believe this year there's roughly around 90 of them. So that's kind of typical.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I would only usually manage, around 8 myself, and then have an awesome team that kind of helps out. And then we have kind of the agronomic excellence team as well. So I'm not sure if Mark brought them up, but between the DSTs and our agronomic excellence team, at the end of the season, you can go on invigorresults.ca and check out all the results for, hopefully local results to see how these kind of hybrids performed in our growers' territory. So
very cool stuff. Well, Cory, I'm glad you could join us.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. It was great to meet. We'd never met before, so it was great to meet you, and have a great Ag in Motion.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome stuff. Okay, so if you have any feedback on today's show, all you got to do is send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Maybe you have an opinion on Early the Rooster. There's a lot of shenanigans going on here. You can call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Big shout out to BASF and InVigor Hybrid Canola for having us here on location in their tent at the Ag in Motion show just outside of Saskatoon. And highly encourage you to check out, of course, the full lineup of InVigor hybrids that they have to offer. Mark talked about 10 out on the market, 12 on the market. As well, you can also check out, of course, the entire... Yeah, this stuff happens when we're on the radio.
We're live.
You can also, of course, check out BASF's website to see their full lineup of crop protection products. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected here on RealAg Radio. We'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.
See you.